Hey, next on the T Nation, thank you so much for coming back and tuning into part 2 of this week's show featuring my conversation with Taylor Crosby. Taylor is wonderfully entertaining and one of the top young instructors in our game. In fact, in 2023, Golf Digest named him one of the best young teachers in America. He has been teaching out at the Kingdom at Reynolds Lake Oconee, another top resort in the country. 7 wonderful golf courses, all designed by top designers. He's been there since, like I say, 2019. Prior to that, he was a disciple of Jim McLean, a wonderful friend of this show. He taught with Jim down at his place in Texas for many years. So Taylor is going to really entertain you. You're going to enjoy his insights. You're going to enjoy the way that he presents himself, the stories, and his information. Plus, we get a couple of playing lessons for you as well. So you know what? Sit back, relax. Let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next hour or so. Okay, now making his next On the Tee debut with me is Taylor Crosby. Let me give you a little background on Taylor. He's from Athens, Georgia. Played his college golf first at the University of Georgia and then over at North Carolina State. He lettered at both schools. He helped NC State to a third-place finish in the 2005 Old North State Club Tournament. And after graduating from NC State, he went out and played on the mini tours, the Hooters Tour, and caddied for a while out on the Korn Ferry Tour. He spent some time as the head golf professional at Sky Valley Golf Club, which is up in northern Georgia, a redesign that a great friend of the show, Bill Bergen, did. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes. He began his teaching career later on that year at the Jim McLean Golf School in Fort Worth, Texas. In 2019, he joined the instruction team at the Kingdom at Reynolds Lake Oconee. I tell you what a fantastic facility they have down there. One of only 2 TaylorMade Kingdoms in the world. In 2023, Golf Digest named him one of the best young teachers in America, and I couldn't be more delighted that I get to have him with me this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Taylor, thanks for coming on the show.
Chris, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Make me blush with all that stuff there, man.
You've done a lot of good things, and I want to hit on all of them, Taylor. Kind of going back to your days, starting at the University of Georgia. So I'm curious, being from Athens, Georgia, was there ever any place else you wanted to go? Was Georgia it, or were there other places that were seeking you out when you were coming out of high school to play your college golf?
There were a few other schools, but like at that time, I mean, Georgia, Oklahoma State, Florida were all like the top 3 schools. And when I got the opportunity, when Coach Hack reached out and said, "Hey, we want you to come in as a preferred walk-on. You're on the team, and we have the Hope Scholarship in Georgia." So, at that time, it's almost like an 80% scholarship. You don't get that in men's golf. So I was like, you know what? I want to go play on the best team, and I get to stay at home. And I know, I've been a Bulldog my whole life. So it was one that it was kind of an easy decision. As soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, I called all the other coaches that I was talking to, and I was like, you know what? I've made my decision. It made it really easy.
When you were at Georgia, you were playing alongside some pretty great players, and Kevin Kisner, Chris Kirk, Brendan Todd. You and Kiz came in together. You guys were both freshmen at the same time. What was it like being around those guys?
It was special, man. I tell everybody, like, those 2.5 years at Georgia were, I mean, just unreal. We had, Ryan Hibble, who's now just he just got inducted to the National Coaches Hall of Fame at Oklahoma, and he was, on top of the world. I grew up playing against Ryan in high school, and Kiz coming in, another kid, Richard Scott. We all came in the same year. It was special. I mean, everybody was ridiculously talented, and everybody's really good, and we all pushed each other a lot. We were all really, we're still close, and it was a blast. It was really hard. It was really tough because they were so good, and I was kind of like on the fringe. So I was kind of like, I think I may have played 6 or 7 events in 2 years. And it was just tough to crack the lineup because we were so good. But it was just a blast because, every day you went out there, you were going to get better or get left, one of the two. So you had to choose.
And speaking of cracking the lineup, it had to be tough. Like you mentioned, you played a handful of tournaments over the 2 years. I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, just to get on the team was a huge accomplishment. And then to get into playing some events because, I mean, look, you only, right? You bring 5 guys, right, to play in any golf tournament where you're playing away. Typically, you only get 9 or 10 on the team. 5 travel to a tournament. Not everyone is on full scholarships, like you talked about for you. But all of those things make it really, really difficult. I don't think people have enough appreciation for how difficult it is just to make a golf team, let alone trying to make it on one of the best programs in the country. Talk about, just the restrictions and how limited it is to get on a scholarship and really to get an opportunity to play in a college golf tournament.
I mean, it's pretty crazy the percentage of, junior golfers that play Division I golf, let alone like Power 5 Division I golf. There just aren't very many people, especially now that, the restrictions on team size are coming in next year, with I think 9 kids per team and 8, I think the SEC is going to. So a maximum of 8 people on a team. Um, it's pretty cool, looking back, like, hey, I used to be pretty good at this game. Like I wasn't bad. I was pretty good for a little bit.
And when I look at your results when you transferred over to NC State, particularly, that first season, that junior year over there, you were low man on the team in a lot of their tournaments. Talk about some of your favorite memories from when you transferred over and you became part of the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd known Coach Sykes. He recruited me in high school. And when I decided to transfer, I mean, the year that I left, all 5 guys were all Americans. They won the national championship at Caves Valley. UGA did. We had 1 qualifier, and that was it. And the team was so good, they were just like, "Yeah, we're keeping this one." And so I looked at the guys that came in on their official visits. We were getting our SEC rings at the LSU game, Georgia LSU, and we got our SEC rings that day. And coming in the door was Brian Harmon, I think Adam Mitchell, and maybe Hudson Swafford. I can't remember who the other ones were, but I was like, man, we're only graduating 1. David Denham was graduating. I was like, 1 plus 3. I was like, the math's not mathing. I need to find somewhere to go. And at that point, I was like, if I want to play professionally, I need to play. I need somewhere to play. So I reached out to Coach Sykes, and he was like, "Yeah, come on." And we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. We had some really good players. One of my teammates is still playing, Stephen Luton. He's a multiple time winner on the Asian Tour. He's still out there playing, and I mean, I tied for a win at Virginia, at Spring Creek. No, not Spring Creek, at Birdwood, and tied for a win there. That was actually where I played my last collegiate event also the next year. But we had a lot of fun, and it was different. The team wasn't quite as good when I got there, but we got way better. You know, everybody still had the same kind of mentality, like, hey, I want to beat your brains in on the golf course. And then we were all, good buddies after that. But, I think playing where I was at Georgia and then getting there, it was a shock a little bit, because it was, I was going up against every week 4 to 5 top 50 in the country guys. And, it wasn't quite the same. So it wasn't, I don't know, not as scary anyways. But I think, being at Georgia, it really prepared me for that. And I was able to kind of go in and go, hey, you know what, I'm going to go out here and play well, and kind of show them, hey, I can play this game. And had a pretty good spring that year, had a decent fall the next year, and then got hurt. I tore up my shoulder pretty good down at the Chris Schinkel, which is actually coming up this weekend down at Georgia Southern. Tore it up, and then played one more event, and it was more of, because I had won it the year before, played up at Birdwood, and I was playing on a one arm. I was following through with one arm because I had torn up my shoulder, and wasn't a whole lot of fun, but it was more just, I wanted to go, hey, I want to go out on my own terms and finish a tournament. But it was a lot of fun. Coach Sykes was amazing. He's still, he was one of my favorite humans ever. Him and Miss Pam, Shug, as everybody called her, still calls her. Coach Sykes he was something special. I mean, he was in the college golf community for 40, 50 years. After running track at NC State, he became the golf coach. But, he was hilarious. He he brought a lot of fun to it. And I still remember the first time I got there, me and some other NC State guys the last couple of years, ever since Coach Sykes passed, we always send funny texts back and forth what he used to say. Well, I got up there and he goes, Taylor, I know you're new here. I don't know how I did qualifying at Georgia, but here for qualifying we go on a points system. I said, okay, cool. He goes, I'm going to point at who I'm taking to the golf tournament. You. I was like, all right, well, let's roll. And it just always, it made me laugh. And I was talking to some of the older guys that, Coach Sargent, who's up at Virginia, he was the assistant at Tennessee at the time. But Press McFall, who's now there, we always laugh about those things. They're like, he said that to us too. He's a riot. But yeah, he was great.
Taylor, trying to make it out on the mini tours and the Hooters Tour back in the day is also a pretty difficult thing to do. It's a hard life. Talk about trying to make your way out through the mini tours and trying to get yourself in a position to get out on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it was kind of a calamity of errors that I ended up playing. So I graduated college, and this is during the recession and all this stuff. And my degree was in certified financial planning and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't really the time. Lehman Brothers, Bernie Madoff, and the 2008 recession kind of hit. So I was like, you know what? I might try and play some golf. And this is coming off, bum shoulder. I didn't play for almost 15 months. And got back out there and started playing and practicing and going. And it was really hard. I mean, you realize how good they were, because like the e-golf tour, then we were 200 guys every week, and you're paying $1,200 to $1,500 an event, and they're cutting to 60. So you get 200 guys out there that are hungry, 2 rounds to go get it. You better shoot 6, 7, 8, 9 under to make the cut. And it was pretty cool. I mean, we had, Tommy Two Gloves was just about to leave there. He was kind of graduating off of there. Tom Gillis was out there, actually. And then he went out and won a Korn Ferry event, or I guess it was web.com then, maybe. Went out and won a web.com after he won the first 2 events there and the first 2 events of the Hooters Tour that year. And then went out and won out there. Everybody was happy he left. And, like it was the same guys I saw in college, but you're like, man, these guys are good, like real good. And I still remember, I played pretty good, especially the back half of the 2009 year. I played pretty good, and realized after, I think, my last couple of events, I realized, you know what? I'm out here shooting 68, 69, and I feel like I'm playing pretty well. And I'm down 10 shots at the cut, and I'm struggling to make the cut. And I feel like I'm playing well. It's probably time to do something else. Which I'm glad I did it, and I had that realization. And you see the guys that are out there on tour, and you're like, man, could have been. And I'm like, it wouldn't have been. I wasn't quite that good. That's okay. I'm all right with it. If I had never gone out there, it might have been a coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I tried it, and I donated my money to those guys, and helped propel their careers.
That's a good way to look at it. So you go from there and you make a stop up at Sky Valley in 2011. I have a soft spot for the course and the resort.
Love
because in a small town up there in North Georgia, great friend of the show, Bill Bergen, did a course redesign back in 2007. What got you up there?
So Mike Young, who you probably know Mike as well. Mike Young's a course designer, golf course designer. He lived in Athens at the time. Good friend of mine. Like, we played a ton of Friday gambling games and stuff like that. And he knew that I was kind of trying to get out of where I was working at the time. I was a bartender at the time, and I was kind of trying to get into, more of a big boy job. And he offered me the job as the head pro up there while he was managing it, while they were looking for somebody to buy the golf course. And because I think the members own it now, and they were trying to look to buy it. And so the bank was kind of managing stuff, and he brought me up there, and man, it was a lot of fun. I know that I have the utmost respect for golf pros, the people that work in the shop, the people that run pro shops, the people that run golf courses, because I did not enjoy it one bit. I did not enjoy that side of the business at all. I loved interacting with the members and playing golf with the members and doing things like that. But as far as sitting in there and doing, getting the shop, doing all the certain things in the shop, profits, losses, doing all that kind of stuff, I was like, you know what? That ain't for me. I know that. But I mean, I still love that golf course. I know I had the course record there for a little bit. I don't know if it still stands or not after the redo, but um, we had a blast up there, and getting to hang out with Steve Mason all the time. He was still playing a little bit on the Champions Tour. I mean, he still competes in the Georgia PGA stuff and plays well. He taught me a lot about golf that I wish I had learned before I quit playing professionally. It might have been a little different story, but it was a great place to, hey, I learned that, I don't want to be in that side of the business. That wasn't going to be for me. Um, Working in a pro shop, that wasn't going to be it. I didn't enjoy that side of it. I loved being up there. Clayton is awesome. It's so cool up there, and that's where I was living, driving up the hill of Sky Valley, going by the Dillard house every day. It was cool, but I knew that wasn't going to be for me, and I knew I wanted to stay in the golf industry. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. Sales, teaching. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I ended up kind of falling into a good one, I guess.
Yeah, so you go from there to another great friend of the show, Jim McLean, and his golf
Mhm.
school out in Fort Worth, Texas. How were you able to make that transition?
So I remember doing an interview. I found it on the PGA website. Just looked it up and saw that they were hiring out in Texas, and I knew I didn't really want to go to Doral, just because it's more of a resort thing where you're teaching a lot of golf schools. I wanted, more seeing the same people a lot. Like I wanted more of that member feel and teaching the same clients a lot and helping them progress in their game, not seeing somebody once a year. And I grew up playing golf with both of Jim's sons, with both Matt and John, playing against them, and you know David Ledbetter's son James. Like we all were right around the same age, so had a somewhat of a relationship with him, and got in for an interview on the phone and found out I got the job. And my wife and I went and looked at an apartment, moved out like 3 weeks later, out
Wow.
to out to Dallas Fort Worth. I think we spent every bit of money we had on the security deposit and the U-Haul getting out there. But out there it was really cool. Had a great group of instructors, and two of the instructors are still together, teaching out there in Fort Worth still with Crown Golf. Justin Pointer and Joey Wertenberger, huge influences in my teaching, and of course Jim, massive influence on our teaching. Um, but we couldn't have had a better crew. Like I was the young kid at 27, I guess, and they were early to mid 30s, so we were all still young, having fun, hanging out, and getting to teach golf all day. I mean, like we got to hang out in the boys' locker room all day. Like that's what we did, and it was, it didn't even feel like I was learning because I was just, absorbing the stuff from them and going through Jim's stuff, and it was it was enlightening. It was really cool, and I spent 7.5, almost 8 years out there, and my wife and I loved every bit of being out there. It was really cool.
Jim, in my opinion, is one of the great minds ever
Hmm.
in golf instruction. So, what did you learn from him? What did you absorb from that time that you were able to then incorporate into the way you teach the game now?
There's people ask me that a lot, and Jim, very meticulous. He studies the game a ton, always trying to learn from other instructors, really trying to learn from instructors that he might not agree with. Finding things in there that, hey, look, this has some stuff that I do like, and trying to disprove his own stuff and going through those things. And he learned a ton from Carl Welty, from videoing and being able to really study the game. And it still sticks with me. He'd always preach, you got to go first things first. So you always look at a golf swing, you watch it and you see things unfold, and you go, okay, what is the root of the rest of the problems? Like, what is the problem? Because most of the things a lot of people see in their golf swings are typically more the effect. They're not the cause. Um, a lot of stuff you see like casting or going over the top, a lot of these things happen because something else happened in the chain before it. So it's, by being able to identify what is truly causing the issue. And I really enjoy that and I still do, like, cause I go into work and it's, I get to solve a puzzle in every lesson. So like, I'm just trying to put puzzle pieces together and see, what shift in this creates the change and the positive outcome that we're looking for.
Taylor, now you're out at the Kingdom at Reynolds Lake Oconee,
Hmm.
back here in the state of Georgia. I've never been out there, but TaylorMade's a sponsor of the show. I'm a huge Jack Nicklaus fan. He's got a beautiful golf course that he designed
Beautiful.
out there. Yeah, one of the 7 courses you have on property there. Talk about all the things you have, I should say, out at Reynolds Lake Oconee.
um, you know, it's easy to probably say the things we don't have, but I'm blessed to be out here. My boss, Sean Kane, director of instruction out there, director of the Kingdom, he called me in week of Thanksgiving 2018. I was like, hey, we've always talked about teaching together. I worked for him when he was at Chateau Elan. He was at the Legends up there. I worked for him in the summers, and we'd always talked about teaching together. He's like, hey, got a chance. If you want to come back to Georgia, I got it for you. I was like, hmm. So my wife and I talked about it for a while and put our house on the market in Dallas. And I commuted back and forth for 6 months from Dallas to here, Dallas to Greensboro. And, going through all that, I was like, this is a pretty special place. Like, we've got our own short game area, 2 great chipping greens, a 15,000 square foot putting green. We've got all the gizmos, gadgets. We've got the Zen putting stage, that can shift, and we've got Quintic for putting, which measures. I mean, it's camera based, but it is insane how many frames per second you can see all these certain things. I teach with TrackMan all day, and get to have all my video equipment and thing at hand, and I get to sit there and look out of my bay and look at the Ritz and and stuff like that. It's a pretty good view. It's not a bad view at all. And we get to see a lot of cool stuff. Like, I mean, we've got a ton of members, and the membership's great, and they love golf, and so they've been, really good to me. And I think, the Kingdom's always been known as a TaylorMade thing, and even the members at Reynolds weren't really as educated on the teaching side of it before. So we spent some time, educating them, and I think we've done a really good job of it. We've all learned that, even with 3 instructors out there, we can really we can crush it, and it's been fun, getting to hang out with them. And I teach with Sean Kane and Blake Adams, who played on PGA Tour for a long time, and getting to learn from him is really cool too, because I always looked up to him. As I'm from Georgia and he's from here, and we took from the same instructor for a little while from you probably know him, Colt Ford, Jason
Yeah.
Brown. And Jason's was my coach all through college until he went back into music. And that's kind of what got him into that. And then now I'm his golf coach, and hoping he can get back into golf after some health stuff in the last few years. But you know, it's the Kingdom's, it's special, man. Like, everybody that walks in is like, whoa, you get to teach, you get to work here all day. I'm like, yeah, it's a golf nerd paradise. Like, it's just so fun.
Yeah, so take that a step further. I mean, I think a lot of people look at the property down there, thinking it's all private, but people can
Hmm.
come in there, right? The public can
Hmm.
come down there and get fit and all of that, right?
So our Kingdom, the West Coast version, the one in Carlsbad, Oceanside, is closed to the public. It's invite only, and the Kingdom at Reynolds used to be that way also. But yeah, it's open to the public. You get a PGA Tour style, like just like those guys are going to get when they're at a PGA Tour event. You're going to get the same fitting. Clubs are built right there. Or, well, anything that involves a head cover gets built right on site, and you leave with it. You've got it actually in your hand before you're done fitting the next club, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is
And
pretty
it's
cool.
built, our original trailer, our trailer we built all the woods in, is the original trailer from TaylorMade from the PGA Tour, which is cool. The other trailer where we build wedges and irons, which is more for when we have Corn Ferry or LPGA Tour, things like that, when they come in, or our elite juniors, things like that, they'll build wedges and irons in there. It's the truck that got retired, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe, before they got the double decker tour bus. Um, so we've got two tour trucks out there, which is really cool. People always want to go in and look at them, which is really neat. Get to see where Wade does his grinding, and all those guys have done some cool stuff in there. Um, but it's pretty impressive. Like, the public can come out there, they get PGA Tour level stuff, and there's nowhere else that I know of in the world that you can get, instruction and that in the same place.
The courses that you have, we talked about that there are 7
Hmm.
out there, but it's some of the most beautiful looking golf courses. Again, I've never been down
Hmm.
there, but I was checking them out online. They wind out around Lake Oconee, a lot of waterfront, a lot of water throughout the golf courses. But
Hmm.
talk about what you have available for people that come out there and actually get on the golf course.
So, me being, you know, us being lucky enough at the Kingdom, if we have a non-member that comes out, we have access to 5 of the 7 golf courses. Two of them are just strictly member only, and like, I can't go out on them unless I'm with a member. And but 5 of them we can go out on, which is, one of them's the Oconee course, which is tied to the Ritz. The public can play that one if you're staying at the Ritz, or staying with us at Reynolds. Same with Great Waters. The public can play that. You just have to be staying, like, at the Ritz or in one of our Reynolds cottages, staying on property. Uh, but like, Great Waters used to host the Anderson Consulting match play. It was, I want to say, I think Mark McCumber holed out on number 2 for Double Eagle one year. I think it was number 2. But I still remember watching those, because that was kind of the start of the WGC stuff, where you had US, Europe, all those things had their qualifiers, and then they came together and did one. But yeah, I mean, we've got 7 unbelievable golf courses. We've got a Fazio, a Nicholas course, Jim Ing, who a lot of people may not have heard of, but he was a shaper for a long time for Mike Strands. That's probably a name that more people are familiar with. Bulls Bay, Tobacco Road, things like that. Uh, we've got a little bit of everything, and it's really cool. It's a special property. I couldn't imagine being somewhere that had 7 golf courses, and then our members love golf so much it's hard to get a tee time, which is it's mind-boggling. It's especially now that the weather's starting to turn, like, it's hard to get a tee time, and
Is,
it's really cool.
are things ramping up already down there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. As soon as we got no frost on the ground, it started really turning.
Wow. Taylor, just a couple more before I let you go, and I want to talk about your golf instruction. When people come
Sure.
to start taking lessons from you, if I'm a new student, how do you
Hmm.
approach determining what the plan is going to be for me? How do you go about deciding, all right, here's where we need to start?
A lot of it is just, talking back and forth with the player, right? What do you want? What are you looking for? What is going on? Kind of diagnosing, what are the issues? I'll watch somebody hit balls for, you know, 5, 10 minutes before I really of say anything about the golf swing, right? Hey, what are you thinking? Hey, is that a shot that you normally see? Oh, nope, that's not one you normally see. Well, that's an outlier. I'm not worried about that. Or, hey, that one sounded great. How does that one feel? That's a 10 out of 10. Cool. Um, and I look through those things, and, what do you want to see, and what type of stuff do you need out of your golf game, right? It depends on the level of player, because I teach everything from dead red beginners to now, like, Corn Ferry and, like, Epson Tour players and World Long Drive people. Um, so I've got every level, and it's different with every level of player, but, each one of them needs their own plan of action, right? Hey, I'm not here for band-aids. That's not what I want to do. That's not my style. Hey, we're going to set a plan together. We're going to get this started today. This goes back to Jim, a building block approach of looking at it. And, hey, look, this is the first thing that we have to do. We're going to get after the first thing. Hey, when you start getting more comfortable with that, we'll add a layer to it, move on to another thing. And, building it that way, kind of get that slow burn a little bit, but people tend to hold on to it easier then. And the change isn't quite as jarring. So you can still play. Like everybody's like, do I need to take time off and not play? I'm like, no, please go play. I need you to play so that I need the feedback. Hey, Taylor, this is going well. Hey, but I'm struggling with this. This is going better. Things like that so that I can get real world application to it, right? So driving range is one thing. It's flat. There's no consequence. You can always pull over another golf ball. But golf course is different. You got one shot and there's consequence. Wherever that ball goes, whether it's a good one or a bad one, you gotta deal with what happens after that. And that's when you start seeing the changes when they're able to pull it off in the golf course. But I would say that in general, I'm probably not a super technical teacher. I can be if I need to be, just because I come from a playing background. Like I'm always looking at the window the ball's coming out of. The ball still doesn't lie. It still doesn't lie. TrackMan's a great tool. It's not the end all be all. It gets it wrong sometimes. If anybody's watched the TGL, sometimes the radars get it wrong. I mean, they just do. It's not perfect. It's fallible. But that golf ball, it's going to tell you a lot, and being able to see that and using video with a client. Everybody always, I always ask the question, new clients in there. I'm like, why do you think I use video? What do you think it's for? And they'll all go, so you can watch the swing and do that stuff. I was like, no, I teach 2,000 to 2,500 hours a year for the last 14 years. I don't need to see it. I've seen enough. I know what they look like, right? It's so the person can see it, so that they can go, oh, that is different. Or, we make a change in something and like, that feels ridiculous. And they look at it and they're like, oh, well, looks pretty normal. Doesn't look as weird as it feels, And so it's one that, being able to do all those things just makes it a lot of fun. And like I said, it's, I like going on that journey with folks and helping them kind of put the puzzle pieces together and to where they own what they're doing. And, the goal is probably not the best business strategy, but my goal is so that students don't need me. That's the goal. That should be every golf instructor's goal. Hey, you don't need me. Now look, this game's hard enough. You're going to need me. There's always something we can work on, right? We can always get putting a little better, chipping a little better. This game's ridiculous. It's the hardest game in the world. I was listening to a much better athlete than myself talk before me. And, he's saying it's the hardest game in the world. I mean, it's the hardest game. It might not be the hardest sport, but it's the hardest game in the world. And I think that's why so many professional athletes turn to golf, love golf, especially when they quit playing, because they can still get that competitive fix and the want to get better. Like a professional athlete they're elite. They're all freaks of nature. You can't play a sport on TV without being, just an absolute freak at something, whether it's skill, athleticism, things like that. Like PGA Tour players are freaks of skill. Now we have athletes who happen to have that are freaks of skill also playing this game, which was like you were talking about too. That's Tiger. Tiger did that. There's no doubt in my mind he changed that, and because it brought it to a whole new landscape. He made it cool, made it way cooler to be a golfer. It wasn't just country club dorks like me out there. Like it's people that could have played baseball, basketball, football, things like that. I'm lucky enough. It's funny. I was watching the TGL earlier, and Chipper Jones is on there, and he's always sporting a Kingdom hat. And he was out there getting fit not too long ago, end of last summer. And while I was on the putting green giving a putting lesson, he came up and asked me. This was right when Ludwig, was really, really taking off after the Masters, and had a great summer. He was like, Taylor, why do you think these young kids are so good? I was like, well, Chip, the kids that were like you, that could have played any sport, big kids, 6'3", 6'4", could play any sport, run, jump, shoot, whatever you want to do. They started to choose golf and not just baseball, basketball, football. Those kids have chosen golf and a little earlier, and now they've honed that skill, and we see different breed these days that is out there.
Yeah, agreed. Taylor, I want to get a playing lesson for our listeners that can take it out to the golf course with them this weekend. And for the player that is hitting a banana slice off the tee, are there some basic fundamentals that they can check to see if they are doing it properly, whether it's in their grip or in their swing, that they can start checking off to see if they are doing things right, and they can start hitting the ball more consistently, hitting it straighter, I should say, more consistently.
Yes. I mean, not all the time, but real high percentage, real high percentage. All of it's, you know, club face. I always tell people, I'm like, it's the king, queen, prince, princess, everybody in the whole royal family. It controls things. So when the club face gets off, swing gets off because it's trying to manufacture a golf ball to go online. Most quote unquote over the top, I hate that saying, but slicers, a lot of it stems from open club face. No, it doesn't always, but it stems from an open club face. So the first thing that I try to get is, hey, no matter what, whether it's changing the grip, changing how the club goes away, if we can get the club face pointing in a little different direction, feeling it really, really closed, and then you start seeing the ball go left. Well, then your brain, if you go, hey, look, I can't change the face yet. I've got to keep it very closed. Your brain will then start to kind of shift the path a little bit. And it's a little bit at a time. It's not going to be a magic cure. But, I talked to a instructor, Scott Calks, and, I still like to learn and learn from other instructors. And he was like, hey, Taylor, the $1 million lesson is a guy who's always seen a ball slice. You get him on a driving range and you teach him how to hit a draw. You've got that client for life. And it's true. Like you see that one, even if it's one in a lesson, they see that draw and they're like, oh my gosh, like, whereas myself, I wish I could make the draw get a little less sometimes. I tend to get hooky, but it's, if you can fix club face first, there's some simple things you can do. I call it the figure 8 drill. It's almost like a little chip shot, where you never really get the club above hip high. Keep the club face feeling kind of closed, and you kind of make a figure 8 kind of, if you put a golf ball directly behind the ball you're hitting and you go outside it and inside it or around that golf ball and kind of loop it back in with that face staying a little more closed, you're teaching yourself more of that inside to out pattern. And if you start there, start small, just work those little things and then build it up. You can definitely get better at that.
One last thing, I saw on your Twitter page that you're kind of poking the bear with Nick Swisher. Tell me about your relationship with Nick.
That guy. Oh man, I love Swish. He is one of the most energetic, just kind-hearted people I've ever met in my entire life. I had no idea. I mean, I knew who he was. I'm a huge baseball fan. It's my favorite sport in the world, like bar none. Way ahead of golf, way ahead of all those other things. Like I'm a huge fan of baseball. I grew up in Atlanta in the early 90s. I wanted to be Tom Glavine. I throw left-handed, do all those things. I want to be Tom Glavine. That's all I wanted to do. And so I love baseball, and I knew who Nick Swisher was when he was playing with Cleveland and then with the Yankees and the A's before that. And I knew who he was, but I didn't know a ton about him. My wife probably knew more about her or his wife than I did about Nick. But I didn't realize how big he was in New York. I mean, like he's beloved there. It's unbelievable. And it's so cool. Like on the golf course, if you've ever seen him in any interview, he is the most upbeat man I've ever seen in my life. And he is the exact same way all the time. But man, he wants to get better at golf really bad. And we were just texting the other day and, he's like, I can't wait to get back up to the lake and work on my game. He's like, this is the year we got to get better. We have to. I was like, I'm in, dude. I'm all in. And he's, anything he does, he's going all in. And he's gotten way better at golf, and he's gotten way better at golf in the last year and a half. Because he's going to go, hey, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it all the way. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see him playing in some celebrity, pro-am type deals and stuff like that, because those baseball guys love it and crowds love the baseball guys. And, he's the best. Like he's a blast, and went out and played in his charity event out in LA a couple years ago, or actually down at Dana Point, I guess, down in Orange County. But, went out there with him for a couple of days and got to see how he was, trying to help out everybody. And that's how he always is. He's just wanting to help out, and we give each other grief a lot. I mean, we have to, because he gives me grief because of my square shoes. He's like, yeah, you're an old man. And I'm like, I know, but you're older than me, so it's okay. And I'm like, well, this old man can beat you up and down a golf course. Don't worry about it. It was pretty funny. Back-to-back days, I had my first Albatross out at Great Waters number
Oh,
2.
is
Hold
that
out
right?
with him. Yeah, he and I were playing. Hold out, birdied 1. I went birdie, Albatross, birdie. First 3
Wow.
holes. And he looked at me, he goes, we might be playing more than 9 holes. I was like, yeah, if this gets silly, we are. And then I ended up shooting even par the rest of the 9. I was like, no, I'm going home. But the next day I had a playing lesson with him out at Cuskawilla, another course at the lake. And front 9, I was only supposed to be 9 holes again. Front 9, I shot 31 and bogeyed the 9th hole. And he was like, dude, you got to play the back 9 today. I was like, all right, fine. So I moved a lesson to an hour later. I was like, I'll push it, Caddyshack, just snake a tube down her nose, and I'll be there in an hour. And I moved it around and ended up shooting 29 on the back 9 and shot
Oh,
60. And so, it was a pretty cool 2 days in a row. And I was like, Swish, I was like, I guess you're my good luck charm on the golf course, but I was like, I got to take you everywhere I go.
wow. What a heck of a time. Good for you. Taylor, before I let you go, now that we've wet the whistle of all of our listeners, that I got to get a lesson from this guy. How can our listeners follow you online? How can they reach you? How can they follow you on social media as well?
So I'm on a couple of different social media things, mainly on Instagram. Instagram, my handle's TC_instruction. You can find a ton of information there, ton of videos that I post to help people out. I am on Twitter, but I'm not as active there. That's more my place to talk nonsense to my friends. And then, but it's all everywhere I am. It's TC_instruction. You can find me also on Twitch. Uh, Everybody may not know a ton about that, but it's kind of a gaming thing. But I teach real time in real life golf lessons, and you can join in and watch golf lessons, see how I teach, see if you want to, hang out. You can kind of see what it's like before you get there. So twitch.com is TC_instruction, and as well as an app called Par 4, which I teach live lessons on that as well. So you can see me teaching my students and see how kind of the lessons go, and maybe you learn something and definitely have fun because I interact with the people that are in the stream as well. But it's a blast. I've enjoyed doing those too because I get people giving me feedback on that. And you know biggest thing is I put most of my stuff on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll follow you back. um if you got questions, always shoot them through on there. I try to answer them as best I can, and a lot of times if it's something that I can't answer with words, I'll shoot a quick video and fire it back to you.
Wow, that's awesome. Taylor, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your night to come and be a part of the show. You're fantastic, my friend. I hope this is the first of many visits because I have thoroughly enjoyed this time, and I bet our listeners have too.
Me too. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. And you know what? We have to get you down to the lake. You're just so far away. You know, you're, you're an hour and 15 minutes away.
I know.
So there's no excuses. We got to get you down here, play some golf, hang out. I think that'd be a blast.
I think so too. We'll make that happen. Take care,
Yes,
my
sir.
friend. All the best to you and your family. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Appreciate it, Chris.
See you, Taylor. That is, again, Taylor Crosby on Instagram, Twitch, and Par 4, TC_instruction. I'll tell you, folks, I mean, look, just from the conversation, how much fun was that just to listen to him share his stories and his insights and the things that he has done over the course of his career. And then to think that you could go spend some time out on the practice tee or out on the golf course with him. I mean, you're learning something, you're having a good time. How many times did he talk about having a good time and with the things that he is doing? And then to be able to get to peek in on some real life golf lessons and have him interact with you. Boy, I just don't understand how it could get any better. So please give him a follow. Again, TC_instruction. Take a look at all the things that he is out there doing. Take a look at all the things they have. You want to talk about an insane area of golf. The 7 golf courses that they have out there just look like 7 of the best golf courses you'll find anywhere in the country. Can't wait to see him in person. And then to be down there at the Kingdom and have the golf clubs actually built right for you right there. You walk out with them. I mean, we've all had the experience of going to different places. They take your measurements and all that sort of stuff. They send it off. It's going to be weeks before you get the golf club in your hands. Not there. Apparently they're going to fix it up for you right in front of you. and then you're walking out a little bit later on, and the golf club's already in your bag, ready to play later on that day or tomorrow. So everything about what they've got down there seems first class, and Taylor seems like a first-class instructor. So hopefully we get the privilege of having him back on the show again soon, and I get to go down there and check out all the great things they got going on. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. I want to send out my sincere thanks again to Tom Patrick, Bensy Glenn, and Taylor Crosby for joining me this week. Scheduled to join me next week are Robert Morris, men's head golf coach. Steve Shingeldecker will be back as part of the show. Always a great time getting to spend some time with Steve. Tour legend and two-time major champion David Graham will be back. Plus another great legend who has one of the all-time great swings and has become a wonderful friend of the show over the years, Tom Pertzer, will be back as well. So it's going to be a great show, folks. I hope you'll come back and be a part of it with us. I want to thank our friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review again for hosting this show on their site. For coverage of everything going on in Western Pennsylvania, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com, and you can find this show by clicking on the Sports Section tab. You're going to find the most recent episode for you front and center on the homepage of the Sports Section, or you can click on Sports and then Podcast Network, and then you're going to see the Next on the Tee logo. Click on that, and many of the most recent episodes are going to be available for you right there. You can also find this show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content, including on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Player.fm, and GolfNewsNet.com. And as always, I can't thank the guys over at Good Pods enough for making this show one of their recommended podcasts. So please download their free app and stream your favorite podcast right there on your favorite device. But like I say each and every week, most of all, my sincere thanks go out to each and every one of you for tuning in and being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I appreciate every one of you so very much. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.